Hey, good afternoon. It is 3:30. I was going to try and jump on at 1:30 and 12 o'clock, and time is just flying. Good to see you guys. I am going to be sharing with you guys a prophetic word the Lord has given me for this year, and something in specific that he's really kind of been emphasizing over the last couple of days in regards to location and destiny and all that stuff. And then if we have time, we'll start talking a little bit about dreams and visions, which is what I said I would talk a lot about in the month of April. So if you know somebody that really needs a word of direction, this is a word of direction. It's a word of instruction, a word of just clarity. So, oh, good. You loved the webinar last night. If you were on the Mastering Your Communication with God yesterday, give me a thumbs up. Thank you guys so much for taking it and investing yourself, your finances in that. I loved teaching it. It was really, a fun course. So, yay, good. I get to see some of your faces, in correlation to those that took the course last night. Good. I pray that it was life-changing and that you are noticing difference. Can we buy the replay? Yeah, we'll probably have the replay up sometime next week, for you to be able to purchase that course if you missed it on spiritual gifts, and hearing the voice of God. For those that have been waiting for the dream interpretation course, that is up. You can go pick it up now. It's going to be the end of April to mid-May. It's actually 3 weeks. I teach you for 3 weeks, about 6 hours, so an hour and a half every Thursday night. And we are going to learn everything from different biblical symbols, numbers, colors, to steps of interpretation, to what you do with prophecy when you have revelation through dreams, to different types of dreams. So that course is up, and I will be teaching you guys on Periscope that may not be able to afford it a little bit on dreams as we go through the month of April. I'll be talking about visions, and I'll also talk a lot about prayer, developing a strong prayer life and intimacy. So we would put that up as well. All right. Oh, someone is telling their friends to get it for her for a gift, a birthday gift. I think that is a gift that keeps on giving, especially if you dream it, because the Lord is trying to communicate with you. And so it's really important. As a matter of fact, I'll give you guys these 3 things, and then I'll give you guys the prophetic word that the Lord has given me, that I wanted to share with you guys. But dreaming is the same thing as hearing from the Lord, audibly or internally. The sources of your dreams are either going to be demonic, they're either going to be from the Lord or they're going to be from yourself. So that's a repetitive pattern no matter how God is communicating with you. One of the things I was telling the people in the class last night is how God communicates with us is kind of like the car that he uses to get whatever is in the car to us. So if there's a package in the car, that's the type of message. And I'll teach on this a little bit through the month of April or May, just on the prophetic. But you have to really master your mode. So if your mode of communication between you and the Lord is dreams, thank you. It's really important. Someone's saying they love the lip color. It's really important that you learn how to decipher those, because I believe that a lot of people are missing what God is speaking to them because they don't know what their dreams mean. And not even just dreams, but even visions. They just have no clue. And God tries to communicate with us at the simplest level that he can. He tries to come down to where we're at, and we still just don't get it. And so it's really important that we invest in learning. Thanks, Marquita. She says she loves my hair. It's really important that we invest in learning how to do that. So I'll touch on that at the end, but let me release this prophetic word over you guys. Like I said, it's a word of direction concerning the rest of this year. It's not hard to interpret dreams. Someone is putting that up, but there are steps, just like learning how to drive a car. It is easier for some people than it is for others, depending on why they're wired, but everybody can learn just the basics of dream interpretation. All right, but I don't want to jump into that now. I told the people in the class last night, once you start talking about dreams and marriage, everybody has questions. Everyone wants to interpret their dreams. So let me do what I'm supposed to do today, and then April, I'll spend time teaching you guys about visions and dreams and just really flowing in the supernatural. All right. So here it is. One of the things the Lord began to talk to me about last year was that 2016 was a year to build. Now, God doesn't just speak certain words for one particular year. You'll hear a lot of prophetic words that are echoed and repeated through different cycles and different circles and different people because because words that the Lord releases, like I said, are not just for a moment. So there are seasonal words. Yesterday I taught you guys on how do you understand seasons and discerning seasons. So you can go back and listen to them. But there are certain seasonal words, and between 2006 to 2012, there was a big push in people understanding their identity, really understanding their purpose, really understanding what they brought to the table. And those were the seasons that we really should have been getting that together. And then between 2012 and 2016, it's been God saying, connect to your tribe, connect to your people, connect to those that understand what is in you, connect to those that can carry the weight of God that's on your life, that can help propel you and can begin to get you to where you're supposed to get. And so the Lord has begun to talk to me in the last several days and starting last year that 2016 is a year to build. This is not, if you are now in this year and you're like, what is my purpose? I don't know how to hear from God. You're actually very behind. So it's really important that you invest the next several months in studying those things and mastering those things and growing closer in relationship with God. Because in this season, God is calling us to build something and to build something that will leave him a legacy. And some of you guys know we're getting ready to plant our church. It's in June. And with it, we have a 3-day conference called the Builders Conference. And that's where the name for that conference came from, because the Lord said in this season, the people of God have to learn how to begin to build something that is lasting. A lot of you guys have tried to build in places where you're supposed to just pitch a tent, meaning there were things that were temporary that God just wanted you to learn a lesson from or connect to for a season. And you thought, okay, this is it. I've arrived. Let me start to build. And you haven't saw any fruit coming out of it. But the Lord is saying we're arriving in a season where God is saying, I want you to begin to invest and build roots. So this is some practical ways to do that. God has been talking to me this whole week that he's moving some of you guys out of your state. He's moving you out of your city to begin to connect you to ministries, to begin to connect you to businesses, to begin to connect you to people that can launch you into that next dimension. And so in order for destiny to manifest, it's connected to a location. When God sent people to cities, he never just sent them there to say, okay, good luck. There was always a reason why God sent someone to a city. There was always a reason why God sent someone to a people. As a matter of fact, God never just sends you to a city. God never just sends you even to a job. He sends you to a people. Our assignment it can be in places, in that we're sent to places to pray and contend, but most of the times we're sent to people so that we can walk in a particular assignment there. Not everybody, and this is something you guys will hear on my Periscope over and over, not everyone is called to clergy, so I'm not saying you need to go start a ministry, but the Lord may be sending you somewhere else for a new job, and if God is our boss, then we're always on assignment. If God is our boss, then we're always on our assignment. Your natural boss, you respect them and you honor them and you do what you're supposed to do, but who you ultimately respond to is God. And so when you're taking a job, when you're moving to a city, when you are, whatever it is, you know that I have an ultimate responsibility to my boss, which is Father God. What is he calling me to do in this season? So some of you guys have not seen any longevity in anything that you've done. A longevity means that you start a project and the next year you don't do it again, or you start something and the next month it's no longer going. The Lord is saying when you begin to build, you're not just focusing on the present, what's going to happen in the moment. You're focusing on longevity. You're focusing on legacy. And all of us are called to leave a legacy of God in the earth. And it may be through your your books that God has been calling you to write. It may be through the TV shows he's been calling you to produce. It may be through the kids that he's called you to teach, and you're called to speak into them and leave fruits of purpose. But all this has to be done intentionally. You can't just say, I'm a legacy builder, and then you just kind of live your life somehow. The Lord is calling us in this season to be very intentional. And as I was teaching on seasons yesterday, I didn't go into this, but one of the things that I've seen as a cycle or pattern in the spirit realm is that between October to January, God, people begin to release all these words about the following year, what's going to happen, what God is calling you to do. And then between January and March, all hell turns loose, right? Oh, you've gotten all these words. You were so excited about the new year. You are going forward. And then January and March comes and you're like, what the heck is going on? And I was listening to Bill Johnson the other day, and he gave such a great point that usually when the Lord releases a major word over your life, the enemy will come with an opposing word so that you have the right to choose. One of the things that you guys hear me teach all the time is that God has given us the right to choose because we're not robots. We are sons and daughters, and sons and daughters are able to hear the voice of God and choose what is right. And so sometimes there's these opposing words, and the opposing words are not all demonic. We had a beautiful opposing word that came. The Lord told us this was a year to build our church. This is the year to plant. We've been called to build people, tremendous leaders in the body of Christ. And then we got this opposing word, which was so beautiful. Our leaders here at the church that we're going to were like, we want you to come on staff. We want to teach you guys. We want to equip you guys. We want to equip your whole team. And this is a huge mega church. They have a lot of resources. It would be so easy for my family because we have 2 little babies, and we would be under leaders that are amazing here. And it was a good word, but it was opposing the word that the Lord had given us. And the word that the Lord had given us was, I am calling you to build people, and I'm calling you to plant a church, and I'm calling to establish a legacy of God in the earth. And so we were like, oh my gosh, this is really good. This sounds good. We talked to our pastor, Apostle Matthew, and he was like, yes, I've been telling you, I either need you to plant something, or I need you to be resourced, or I need you to move to Chicago. Now, the Lord had not told us to move to Chicago, so we only had 2 options. And the 2 options came up at the same time. But the Lord had already given us a clear directive. Apostle Matthew wants everybody to move to Chicago because he's a builder. And now I want everyone to move to Raleigh. So, for those that are praying about where you're going. But it's really, really important that in the season when God has given you something tremendous, there are going to be some opposing words that come. And it's really, really important that you go back to that original word. What began to happen to me is I had asked the Lord for some particular things. I said, well, God, if you want us to plant this church, me and my husband were like, he needs a job making this amount of money. And the Lord gave him that job. Then we were like, well, we don't have a building. So God, you need to give us a building. And then God gave us a building. And God was like, I have honored my word to you. I've told you this is a year to establish. This is a year to build. You need to follow through in what I have said. And so we said, okay, Lord. And we had to say no to the word that was good. So the opposing words that come are not always bad words. They're not always demonic, like, it's going to lead you into sin. But there is a difference between good and God. Brevier has written a book on that. So part of this building thing that God is telling you, and I feel like a lot of you guys are in that January to March season where you're kind of confused. You thought God said one thing, but now you don't know if this is what God said. You don't know if you're headed in the right direction. But that happens to strengthen the original thing that the Lord had told you. So you need to stick to what God has said, because between March and June is an actual foundation building phase where you're saying, yes, I'm aligning with this word. I'm partnering with it. God, I am going for it. And then from June to the end of the year, you're going to begin to see the manifestation of what God has declared. You're going to begin to see the manifestation of the promises. But a lot of people mess up between March and June in their commitment, in their consistency to the word that the Lord has given them. And so when we move into June, a lot of people don't see anything happen. And I've seen this cycle for years, and I see it in our lives. I always knew that after June, things take off. And I gave you guys, when I taught you on seasons yesterday, summer is one of those seasons of immense productivity, and then fall is another season of conceiving again. So God is saying, because we've been called to build. We're out of March. You need to say yes to whatever God is calling you to do in this season so that when June comes, you are seeing fruit out of your life. You're seeing productivity. You're seeing acceleration. You're seeing things actually coming to fruition. So one of them is move. Let's see. All right, y'all pray.